Ever since I was 8 years old, I have had this feeling of having encounters with the dead. When we lived in our old house, I used to have an imaginary friend that my parents said I always spoke to. Though I cannot remember her name, I do remember one instance. I had been sitting in my parents' room, watching a movie, and I turned and offered my imaginary friend to sit on the beanbag chair that I had brought into the room. I have always been told that I was a very OCD tidy child, and I remember making sure that the beanbag was completely flat and smooth. I remember turning towards the movie after I had offered for her to sit down, and I heard a sound, and when I looked at the beanbag chair, there was an indent there, as though someone was sitting down. My parents stated that I often spoke to people who weren't there, and they thought it was just my imagination. We moved to a new house when I was 10, and although I felt safe in the home, I have always had this feeling that someone watched me. My friends often comment on how I speak to people who are not there, and they too feel it's just my imagination. My mother has finally started to believe my stories, because 2 years ago, my grandmother, my mother's mother, got very sick. The two of us had always been close, and I spent many summers with her, so when she got sick, it was very hard on me. She had been a strong smoker all of her life, and she always had this certain smell to her. Different than cigarette smoke, I have many friends who smoke as well. Anyways, my grandmother ended up not making it, and she passed on 2 days before my 17th birthday. I never got a chance to say I love you one last time, or hear her voice say it back. My parents gave me a gold angel necklace the day after her wake, which was on my birthday. My grandfather did not want her actual funeral to be on my birthday. My mother had said that my grandmother was now my angel, because she loved me more than anything, and that necklace would always symbolize her love for me and protect me. I wore that necklace every day. Exactly 1 year to her death, I was speeding in my car, and trust me, I know it was really stupid, to meet my, at the time, boyfriend. The road I had driven hundreds of times before, and I knew all the turns to slow down on. But at one point I stopped paying attention, and I lost control of my car. I went into a ditch which was surrounded by trees. I was so far down that no one could see me. When I had lost control, I had started to scream as my car started to spin around, and I just remember stopping and feeling this warmth, as though someone was holding me. When everything had finally stopped, I felt my hand clinging to the necklace that I had gotten the day before her wake. When everything became silent, I thought I heard a whisper and a voice that said, "I love you." And I swore I could smell her distinct smell, a smell that I will never be able to forget. I started to look around my car and started to cry. I couldn't get out of any of the doors, because my car door, every car door, was smashed in at every point, except for where I was sitting. The glass from both my front and back windshields was in a circle around me, as though I was in a bubble. My rear view mirror, which had broken off at impact, had hit my shoulder, and that was the only thing that had hurt me, just a tiny little bruise. When the police finally came, they thought I was going to have to be airlifted out. They said it was a miracle that I was even walking. They said I should have been at least paralyzed from the waist down. When they saw the mirror, they asked me where it hit me, fully believing it had hit me in the head, but I told them it only hit me on my shoulder, but they didn't believe me. They said it was as if something had deflected it from hitting my head, and it went at an angle impossible of going on its own. I had climbed out of my window and taken a look at my car, and it didn't even resemble a car. I have told my story to everyone who have asked, and I will always state with all my heart that my grandmother saved my life that day, that she is the reason that I am able to walk and breathe on my own. I am writing this story down just to say thank you to my grandmother for saving my life and for always being there for me.